Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. In today's video, I'm going to talk about shortcuts. When I started outlining the video, I feel like there were two distinct videos being discussed. So next week's video will be, I'll talk about it more at the end, what that one will be. But what this one will be, the problem with dealing with absolutes, the problem with trying to find a shortcut, a rule of thumb that you just blindly follow into perpetuity. The market is dynamic, constantly changing. I've made so many videos about Troll and Toad Evo closing and having to adapt. And I mean, just the state of our grading companies. I am primarily a flipping business, very little collecting these days by me as far as cards go. But yeah, over the years, I've made so many videos discussing CGC, BGS, PSA. They all have applications, but their applications change over time. And if you try to get in your mind that Japanese go here and English modern go here, that's another thing right there. Sets fluctuate over time. And it's not even just this set is clean, this set is rough. Celebrations. Look at celebrations. The classic collection, a lot of those are much easier to grade. A lot of the non-classic collection, I mean, think of those hollows, those are tough to grade. So not even within one set do we get a consistent expectation on what the quality will be. But so many times I see people, whether it's in Discord or in YouTube, wherever it may be, just trying to discuss, like, where do I send cards for grading? Where is the best place? It's case by case. Unfortunately, it's all case by case. This is a very common thing too in the finance space. Finance is a bit of a passion of mine, and maybe someday down the line there'll be a finance channel. But there are so many, and I understand the desire to have a rule of thumb, and I think they have applications, but you just can't take it too far. You can't take it too far and try to blindly follow those and think that's going to lead to anything absolute. There are so many rules of thumb, like the 4% rule and the 50-30-20. There's so many things in the finance space that one size fits all doesn't really fit anyone perfectly, but it kind of loosely works. I mean, there's my hat right there, the one size fits all hat that barely snaps on the Dan, only with when it's clipped down to the last one. But yeah, just so many times I see people trying to find that shortcut. What's the best place to buy? What's the best place to sell? Well, it depends on what you have. It depends on what you have. So you've got to be careful. Everything is always changing. As of right now, I mean, I'm recording this middle of February. Right now, PSA is largely quicker than CGC. As of right now, though, PSA is $15. I don't have any broad rules where, and I've commented about this before, and maybe this will be its own video someday. The brand loyalty, it has to be this company, it can't be that. That's all weird. I don't think that works well in business. If you're a collector and you have preferences on a certain label, I'll save that for a separate video. But yeah, same thing goes with the business. I can't even get so comfortable as to where X, Y, and Z goes to CGC. It all changes. I mean, right now, PSA is turning around bulk in about a month. CGC, they're taking a few months. Different prices. PSA is 15. Someday PSA might be 10 again. Everything flips on its head the day that PSA comes out with a $10 special or a $12 special. So again, I understand the desire to seek rules of thumb, but I think often they do more damage than actually helping. People try to just take the easier way. They try to put less thought into it, and they try to you're just not going to get the optimal results that way. You need to constantly be taking in new information, seeing the ways that the market's changing, and then reacting from there. One of the biggest ones that I see is with respect to grading your cards. I've seen so many people, how many of one card do you send? What size order do you send? Do you put your Japanese first? Some of this even ventures into the territory of, I'll link the video above, analysis paralysis. Kind of interesting. It almost seems like those are two completely independent things. But analysis paralysis, you're thinking too much before you're even acting. Rules of thumb, you're almost trying to not think at all, and you're trying to just act. But I've seen, it's kind of, it almost doesn't make sense, but I've seen people analysis paralysis on like what the optimal rule of thumb would be. Like they just want to think up front. They want to find that optimal solution and then just autopilot it from there. But it just really can't happen. Another thing is I've seen these different theories on, well, the second set they do this and they put a Charizard here and the fourth set is that. And this is the set. The fourth or the seventh or the ninth set always gets short printed. You just got to be careful with that, because I've seen some of these extrapolations that are made from 2 blocks when we've had, what, like 9 blocks now? It's some of it even, so many of these video topics are bleeding together to some extent. Overconfidence. I made the video of overconfidence last week. If you get 2 blinds, if you get 2 dead set on this being the optimal way, this is my rule of thumb, this is my shortcut to making a ton of money, you might get overconfident. You might get stuck into this is going to work every time. You might end up making a larger play. You might end up making a bigger play than you can afford to lose on because, oh, well, here's another one. Shiny Treasure EX. Shiny Treasure EX. I don't know how many cases I have exactly, but I have over a dozen, I would say. I have over a dozen cases. I bought the first one probably when they were 90 a box. I bought my last one when they were about 900 a case, maybe 800 a case, so 40 to 45 a box. And if you look back to VMAX Climax, I believe was the one. VMAX Climax, I think I might have a box behind me somewhere of VMAX Climax. But anyways, that box went down to about 30, 40, 45, and a lot of people will try to take the history and they'll try to just superimpose one over the other, as if a rule of thumb will be, well, it's going to hit 35, it's going to hit 40, it's going to hit whatever MSRP is for 1 month, and then it's going to go up from there. That can be risky. That can be risky because things just change. Overall demand, overall supply. I mean, we don't know how much of this stuff's being printed. We can get overconfident on what the past has shown us and think that that's going to replicate exactly in the future. So just be careful out there. A little bit of a ranty video, as sometimes I do, but that is the first half of what I wanted to do with respect to shortcuts. I think this one will be a little bit less inflammatory, maybe. Next week's might be a little bit spicy, hopefully not too spicy. But next week, the one I'm going to touch on, and I've talked about it in live streams more, maybe the podcast with Nick, shortcuts with respect to get-rich-quick schemes. I'm not going to dive into it here because that'll be next week's video. But yeah, that's an issue too. People trying to shortcut their way to, hey, I'm watching this guy who's had a 10-year business. I'm trying to shortcut my way to that. Hey, I'm trying to shortcut my way to retirement, to financial freedom, whatever it may be. So tune in next week for that video. Another thing, one last thing that didn't really fit either video perfectly, but I figured I'd throw it in there. Another way that you could interpret the whole shortcut thing. Deals that are too good to be true. If you see an Evolutions booster box on some random website for $150, it's probably just a Chinese fake. Probably just a knockoff. Probably not real. Or they're going to send some other product. It's going to be resealed. It's going to be this or that. So the whole there are no shortcuts, it kind of feeds in fairly well to if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. You're often not going to have just thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars thrown to you into your lap because somebody mispriced something crazy. Every so often, there are crazy yard sale finds, there are this or that, but if you're finding it on the internet, if you're finding it on eBay, and it's still there, look closer at it. It's probably not going to be something that's going to work out. You're not going to shortcut your way to a quick $500 flip on an Evolutions box that you buy for $100. But yeah, that's everything I had for today. Let me browse over my notes just to make sure I covered everything. Platforms too. I guess I didn't really cover it in the midst of the video, I don't think. Some people, it's like, and me too. A lot of these things I have fallen victim to. This is me talking to my former self 6, 8, 10 years ago. Sealed is best on TCG Player and singles are best on eBay or vice versa, whatever it may be. You can't get so blinded. You can't get so dead set on one rule of thumb because I'm telling you, these things are non-fungible. These things are arbitrageable between platforms. There are certain days, there are certain times where TCG Player just runs thin. For whatever reason, the TCG player sellers get hit a little harder. They don't re-up their inventory quick enough, and you might be able to get an extra 20% over there compared to eBay. So I don't even have a rule of thumb as far as like these exact items, these exact categories of my business, like sealed versus raw versus graded. There's not even a rule of thumb that will apply to those. I guess the one broad rule of thumb that I use, but it's not even universal, is the eBay vault for single graded cards over $250. 0% selling fees through there. If you want to consign with me, might as well use this to shout out my eBay vault consignment. 1 to 4% fee depending on the sale price, as you see to the side of me. So yeah, might as well turn the end into a little bit of an ad read for my vault consignment. Feel free to DM, comment, email if you want to get in touch about that. There are links in the description below. But that's everything I have for today. Next week, tune in for get rich quick schemes. We're going to talk about those in and out of Pokemon. They're all over the place. Common theme throughout life is that you will find people trying to separate you from your money. So with that, I appreciate everyone watching, and I will catch you all later.